The Storm Within, Amaka's Awakening. Amaka's voice echoed through the village of Umuhwaya, her words cutting through the air like a sharp knife. She shouted at a group of children playing in the market, their laughter and shouts dying down as they scurried away. The vendors watched her with a mix of fear and annoyance, their faces set in stoic expressions. But when Amaka stormed past Ifeoma's vegetable stand, Ifeoma's eyes narrowed. She saw the tension in Amaka's shoulders, the way her fists were clenched at her sides. Ifeoma's gaze lingered on Amaka's face, searching for a glimmer of the girl she once knew. As Amaka continued down the market, she knocked over a basket of yams, the vendor's angry shout following her. She didn't look back, didn't apologize. It was a habit she'd cultivated over the years, a shield to protect herself from the world. But the sound of the vendor's anger followed her, echoing in her mind like a familiar drumbeat. Amaka quickened her pace, her heart pounding in her chest. She knew she was walking away from more than just the market. She was walking away from the fragments of a life she'd once abandoned. Ifeoma watched Amaka disappear into the crowd, her expression thoughtful. She'd seen the cracks in Amaka's armor, the glimmer of pain in her eyes. Ifeoma wondered what had driven Amaka to build such walls around herself, what had made her so hard and unforgiving. As the day wore on, the market bustled with activity, but Ifeoma's mind lingered on Amaka. She knew that beneath Amaka's tough exterior lay a complex web of emotions, waiting to be unraveled. The oldest woman in the village, Mama Ifeoma, heard the many complaints about Amaka. She sent for her, and the entire village buzzed. Nobody said no to Mama Ifeoma, not even Amaka. When Amaka arrived, Mama Ifeoma looked at her for a long time. "Bullying does not make you strong," the old woman said. "It hides your wounds, but it cannot heal them." Amaka clenched her fists, feeling heat rise in her chest. Mama Ifeoma told Amaka a tale about a crocodile that pretended to be fierce because it feared being hurt first. Amaka pretended not to care, but her eyes stayed fixed on the old woman's lips. "The crocodile learned too late," Mama Ifeoma said. "Its anger kept everyone away, even the ones who came to help." Amaka swallowed hard. The story was too close to her truth, but she refused to accept it. Amaka's feet sunk into the cool riverbank mud as she stood at the water's edge, her eyes scanning the calm surface of the river. She'd stormed out of the market, her anger and frustration simmering just below the surface. The memory of Ifeoma's calm gaze and Mama Ifeoma's words still burned her. As she watched a group of children splashed into the river, their laughter and shouts carrying across the water, Amaka's face twisted in a scowl. "Can't you lot keep quiet?" she bellowed, her voice echoing off the surrounding trees. "Some of us are trying to think." The children froze, their eyes wide with fear as they scurried out of the water. Chike, the fisherman, looked up from his nets, a hint of concern etched on his face. "Amaka, no need to shout," he said softly. "They're just children." Amaka's glare could cut stone. "And I'm just trying to get some peace," she snapped, her voice still raised. "Can't anyone around here respect that?" Chike's expression remained calm, but his eyes held a hint of understanding. "You're the one who's disturbing the peace, Amaka," he said gently. "Maybe you should take a moment to calm down." Amaka's anger flared, but something about Chike's words struck a chord. She turned away, her shoulders heaving with agitation. She didn't need some old man telling her what to do. But as she walked away from the river, she couldn't shake the feeling that Chike's words had touched a nerve. As Amaka walked away from the river, she couldn't shake the feeling that Chike's words had unsettled her. She didn't like being told to calm down, didn't like being seen as out of control. But as she stomped through the village, she caught glimpses of people watching her, their faces a mixture of fear and wariness. Amaka's anger simmered, fueled by the familiar reactions. She was used to people cowering away from her, used to being the one they feared. But today, something felt off. Maybe it was the way Chike had looked at her, with a mixture of concern and understanding. Maybe it was the way the river had seemed to calm her, just for a moment. As she turned a corner, Amaka spotted Ifeoma sitting outside her hut, shelling peas into a bowl. Amaka's instinct was to ignore her, to keep walking and pretend she hadn't seen her. But something about Ifeoma's calm demeanor stayed her. "What do you want?" Amaka snapped, trying to sound tougher than she felt. Ifeoma looked up, her eyes crinkling at the corners. "Just shelling some peas," she said. Her voice smiled. "Want to join me?" Amaka raised an eyebrow. "Why would I want to do that?" Ifeoma shrugged. "No reason, I suppose. Just thought it might be nice to have some company." Amaka snorted. "You think I'm looking for company from you?" Ifeoma's expression didn't change, but Amaka saw a flicker of something in her eyes. Ifeoma said, "I'm not offering out of pity, Amaka. I'm offering because I think we could use some company, both of us." Amaka's instincts screamed at her to walk away, to reject Ifeoma's offer, and pretend she didn't need anyone. But something about Ifeoma's words resonated deep within her. She hesitated, her feet rooted to the spot. Amaka stood there for a moment, her feet seemingly rooted to the spot. Ifeoma's words had struck a chord, and for a moment she felt like she was teetering on the edge of something. She looked at Ifeoma, searching for any sign of mockery or condescension, but all she saw was kindness. Without a word, Amaka sat down beside Ifeoma, taking a handful of peas from the bowl. Ifeoma handed her a shell, and they worked in silence for a while. The only sound, the soft clicking of the peas being shelled. As they worked, Amaka felt her tension begin to ease. She couldn't remember the last time she'd sat in silence with someone without feeling the need to fill the space with noise. Ifeoma's presence was calming, and Amaka found herself relaxing in her company. After a while, Ifeoma spoke up, her voice gentle. "You know, Amaka, I've known you since you were a little girl. You used to be so full of life, so full of laughter." Amaka's eyes snapped up, her defenses rising. "What are you talking about?" she demanded. Ifeoma's expression was soft. "I'm talking about the girl you used to be, before life beat it out of you. You were bright and curious and kind." Amaka's face twisted. "You don't know what you're talking about," she spat, but Ifeoma's words had struck a chord. Ifeoma's eyes locked onto hers, filled with compassion. "I know more than you think I do, Amaka, and I know that you're still in there, that spark of goodness and light. It's just been buried deep." Amaka felt a lump form in her throat, and for a moment, she thought she might cry. No one had ever spoken to her like that, with such kindness and understanding. Amaka looked away, her eyes burning. She didn't know how to respond to Ifeoma's words. She felt like Ifeoma saw right through her, saw the real Amaka beneath the tough exterior. Ifeoma's hand touched hers, gentle and warm. "It's okay, Amaka," she said softly. "You don't have to say anything. Just know that I'm here and I see you."
Amaka felt a lump form in her throat, and before she knew it, tears were streaming down her face. She hadn't cried in years, not since she was a little girl. But something about Ifeoma's words and touch had unlocked something deep inside her. Amaka didn't try to hug her or offer empty words of comfort. She just sat there, her hand on Amaka's, letting her cry. Amaka felt a weight lift off her shoulders, a weight she hadn't even realized she was carrying. As she cried, Amaka felt like she was shedding a part of herself, a part she thought was essential to her survival. She felt like she was letting go of the anger and the hurt, of the need to be tough and strong all the time. When her tears finally subsided, Amaka felt drained but lighter, like a burden had been lifted off her shoulders. She looked at Ifeoma, who smiled and handed her a cloth to wipe her face. "Thank you," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Ifeoma's smile grew wider. "No need to thank me, Amaka. You're welcome to be yourself around me anytime." Amaka felt a sense of gratitude towards Ifeoma, and for the first time in a long time, she felt like she might actually have someone in her corner. As the days passed, Amaka found herself looking forward to her conversations with Ifeoma. They would sit together, shelling peas or weaving baskets, and Ifeoma would listen to Amaka's stories without judgment. Amaka told her about her childhood, about the pain and the struggles, and Ifeoma listened with compassion and understanding. Amaka began to see the world in a different light, to realize that her experiences didn't define her. Ifeoma's kindness and empathy showed her that there was more to life than anger and resentment. One day, Chike approached Amaka nervously, scared she might lash out, as she was walking through the village. "Amaka, I have a favor to ask," he said, his eyes twinkling. "I need some help with my nets, and I could use a strong pair of hands." Amaka's initial instinct was to refuse, but something about Chike's gentle tone and his nervous tone
made her hesitate. "Okay," she said finally. "I'll help." As they worked together, Amaka felt a sense of pride and accomplishment. She realized that she was capable of kindness and helpfulness, that she didn't have to be defined by her past. The villagers began to notice the change in Amaka, and they responded with kindness and warmth. They would smile and greet her, and some even stopped to chat. Amaka felt like she was slowly becoming a part of the community, like she was finding her place. Mama Ifeoma's words came back to her. Even the hardest stone begins to soften with water. Amaka felt like she was that stone, slowly softening under the gentle touch of the people around her. As the days turned to weeks, Amaka's transformation became more pronounced. She still had moments of anger and frustration, but they were no longer the dominant forces in her life. She was learning to recognize the triggers and take a step back, to breathe and calm down before reacting. The villagers, too, noticed a change in her. They would see her laughing with Ifeoma or helping Chike with his nets, and they would smile. Some even began to approach her, to talk and share their stories. One day, as Amaka was walking through the market, she saw a young girl being bullied by a group of older children. Amaka's instincts told her to step in, to protect the girl, but she hesitated. She knew what it was like to be on the receiving end of bullying, and she didn't want to make the situation worse. But as she watched, she saw the fear and vulnerability in the girl's eyes, and something inside her shifted. She walked over to the group and stood tall, her voice firm but calm. "Leave her alone," she said. The group backed off, and the girl looked up at Amaka with tears in her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered. Amaka smiled, feeling a sense of pride and purpose. "You're welcome," she said. My name is Amaka. What's yours? The girl smiled back, and Amaka saw a glimmer of herself in the girl's eyes. She realized that she wasn't just helping the girl, she was helping herself too. As Amaka walked with Nneoma through the village, she felt a sense of connection she hadn't experienced in a long time. Nneoma's laughter and smile were contagious, and Amaka found herself smiling more than she had in years. As they walked, Nneoma told Amaka about her love of storytelling and poetry. Amaka listened intently, remembering the stories her grandmother used to tell her. She shared one of her own, and Nneoma's eyes widened with delight. Their walk ended at the village square, where a group of elders were sitting in the shade. They welcomed Amaka and Nneoma warmly, and soon they were all chatting like old friends. Mama Ifeoma appeared, a warm smile on her face. "I'm glad to see you two getting along," she said, her eyes twinkling. Nneoma looked up at her and smiled. "I'm so glad you're my friend, Amaka," she said. Amaka's heart swelled with emotion. "I'm glad too, Nneoma," she said, feeling a sense of belonging she hadn't known in a long time. As they said their goodbyes, Amaka felt a sense of hope. Maybe, just maybe, she could leave her past behind and start anew. Maybe she could find happiness and connection with the people around her. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Amaka walked Nneoma home, feeling a sense of peace she hadn't known in years. But as they stood outside Nneoma's hut, a figure emerged from the shadows. "Amaka," a low voice called out. Amaka's heart skipped a beat as she recognized the voice. It was her past coming back to haunt her. "Who's that?" Nneoma asked, her voice trembling slightly. Amaka's eyes locked onto the figure, her mind racing with possibilities. "It's someone I used to know," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. The figure stepped forward, its features illuminated by the fading light. Amaka's heart sank as she saw the familiar face, but one person she had been trying to avoid. "Hello, Amaka," the figure said, its voice dripping with malice. "It's been a long time." Amaka's past had finally caught up with her. What would she do now? Amaka's instincts kicked in, and she stepped forward, her eyes locked on the figure. "What do you want, Ibere?" Ibere's smile was cold and calculating. "I've been looking for you, Amaka. You've been hiding well." Nneoma's hand touched Amaka's arm, a gentle gesture of support. Amaka felt a surge of gratitude towards the girl. "I've been rebuilding my life, Ibere," Amaka said steadily. "I won't let you ruin it for me again." Ibere chuckled. "You think you can just leave and start over? You're not that lucky, Amaka." Amaka's anger flared, but she kept her cool. "I'm not the same person I was," she said, "and I won't let you drag me back down." The air was thick with tension as the two former associates locked eyes. Nneoma's grip on Amaka's arm tightened, a silent show of support. Finally, Ibere shrugged. "We'll see about that," he said before turning and disappearing into the night. Amaka let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. She turned to Nneoma and smiled weakly. "I'm sorry you had to see that," she said. Nneoma's eyes were wide with concern. "Who is he, Amaka?" she asked. Amaka hesitated, unsure of how to answer, but as she looked into Nneoma's trusting eyes, she knew she couldn't lie. "Someone from my past," she said. "Someone I thought I'd left behind." Nneoma nodded, her expression determined. "You're not alone, Amaka," she said. "We'll face him together." Amaka's heart swelled with emotion.
For the first time in a long time, she felt like she had someone in her corner, someone who cared. As the days passed, Amaka noticed Iberi lurking around the village. She knew she had to confront him, but now she wasn't alone. Nneoma and the villagers stood by her side, ready to support her. One evening, Amaka faced Iberi in the village square. The villagers formed a circle around them, their faces set with determination. "You've hurt me enough, Iberi," Amaka said, strong. "Leave me alone." Iberi sneered, but Amaka saw a flicker of doubt. He knew he was outnumbered. With a snarl, Iberi turned and fled into the night. The villagers cheered, and Nneoma hugged Amaka tightly. "You're free, Amaka," she whispered. Amaka smiled, feeling a weight lift off of her shoulders. She was finally free to start anew, surrounded by people who cared. As the villagers dispersed, Ifeoma approached Amaka with a warm smile. "You found your strength, child," she said. "Now go live your life." And with that, Amaka walked into a brighter future, surrounded by friends and a newfound sense of purpose. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, like, share, and comment.